So we're not really talking about like the other locations yet as far as where some of those uprisings are happening, but you're saying that I would glean, you said classic locations out of that?
Yeah, I would say we try to focus.
Hello everyone, and yes, that is gameplay footage from the developers, or from the guys at Bad Feeling Podcast with the developers of Star Wars The Old Republic, and they showcased that. The stuttering is ridiculous there. That is insane amounts of micro stutter going on during those uprisings. I mean, I know the game is in an early build, but Jesus Christ, that's the developers' own machines. They could have developed that scenario, or the Hoth uprising, at least optimize that one to run it smoothly on the live stream, on the promotional material. The whole point of these live streams is to sell SWTOR. People criticize me for not selling SWTOR enough. That's not my job. It is, however, their job on their official live stream to sell the game. And one of the things that you took away from that is the game runs like utter shit. I mean, you're playing on the developer live stream, you're assuming using the developer's own machines. If it's running like that on their own machines, Jesus, God help us, we are so screwed trying to run that on our, you know, on our PCs. That is gonna be awful, to be honest. That micro stutter was insane. That looked unplayable. It was unwatchable, never mind unplayable. I didn't want to watch it. And yes, I picked out 12 seconds. Did I just pick out 12 seconds with the most micro stutters? No, it continued throughout the whole stream. You can sit there and you can watch the whole entire gameplay segment, and you can get an idea of how it's gonna run. Jesus Christ, that was awful. That was pre-order cancelling. That would, if that was any other game and you saw that in their promotional footage, you'd cancel your pre-order, wouldn't you? I would. Certainly I would, because I hate micro stutter. I mean, the frame rate there, you could probably sit and count the frames there. It was that bad. I mean, it was that bad. You sit there and count them. You don't need a frame rate monitor to do that. I mean, SWTOR doesn't really stick to 60 FPS in any group content. You know, ops run about maybe sort of 25 to 35 if you're lucky. 16-man ops is a slideshow, but this is a 4-player instance, this is. I mean, it doesn't run well in flashpoints either, but I expect it to be more playable than that. Bear in mind, it launches, it goes into early access in 2 weeks. It goes in 2 weeks' time, and that is the kind of crap that you've got to deal with when you subscribe early for early access. I won't be getting early access, and thank fuck for that. I'm like, Jesus. That was horrible. That was a horrible bit of gameplay footage. That's the official promo footage for the game. They could have at least edited it if they'd pre-recorded it, edited it and made it look good at least. You know, that's what I would do. But anyway, performance ran over. I mean, the performance of a game is vital to its selling, I think. You know, Dishonored 2 doesn't run very well. That was our last video that we put out. Batman Arkham Knight as well. It looked like Batman Arkham Knight. It was that bad. It looked like that kind of performance. Those performance stutters. And if that's coming from the developers on their own machines, what are we gonna do? What are we gonna do? Really? I mean, they can't even build a test version of the game that doesn't bloody stutter? That was horrible. Alright, so we'll get to the actual content of the live stream, even though that overshadowed the whole stream for me. Really did. Confidence in 5.0 has dropped again, and it was already pretty low, and it's, Jesus. Cannot believe that. So you're going to get, Veteran is going to be balanced for people with augmented gear. Okay, there's going to be some unavoidable damage, so you're going to need a healer. There's going to be one-shot mechanics that are there, so fair enough. Don't get hit by it. Don't stand in the thing. There's a lot of things with circles around. Don't stand in them. So there's going to be some one-shot mechanics, at least in Veteran difficulty. It's going to be balanced for 240 gear. Okay, so... well, it's going to be... So, people with 220s, 224 gear, they've said, can do it. I guess you'll be able to do it if you get a good group of people on voice comms. Shouldn't really be an issue with 220s and 224s, I imagine. What they're going to do for the end game, it's going to be a mix of mid end game, mid and end game gear, is what they said. You won't be able to walk into veteran day one and succeed. Want to bet? Take that as a bet, really. Maybe you should get hardcore progression uprising guilds. That'd be a good idea. Maybe we'll get that. Because they're bigging it up. They're bigging up the difficulty. I'm not a fan of them bigging up the difficulty because the majority of the players can't clear tactical flashpoints. It's true. People die and people struggle in tactical flashpoints. It's going to be a massive call to nerf them. And people are struggling in current HM flashpoints at the moment, which aren't that hard, to be honest. So a big step up is, for me, not great. They're going to be between 15 and 30 minutes. So they're going to be, basically, think of them just a flashpoint without the cutscenes. That's it. It's just a flashpoint, no cutscenes, essentially. Nobody complaining at you to spacebar, which is fair enough. I mean, having the cutscenes in the flashpoints, they were fine the first time you did it. But when you ran it for the 500th time, nobody gave a shit about them. And it was a bit off-putting to new players, I would say. Especially if you were just new to it and everyone was saying, spacebar, spacebar. Which is why I think that having the solo mode, which we were against... I mean, before, if you wanted to see the cutscenes, you could go back and solo almost any flashpoint in the game, really, before level sync. Because you just out-leveled it. You know, if you were level 30, go back to Hammer Station, solo it, watch all the cutscenes. It was easy enough. You could just out-level it. Introducing level sync took that away, which I think was a mistake for level sync in flashpoints. You know, let people go back and see the story at their own pace. Fair enough. Or normal mode was at least there for you to see the story. I think HM, everyone's end game, everyone just wants the stuff. They want the rewards, really. You're not running Hammer Station for the 500th time because you like Hammer Station. You're queuing random because you want the reward. At the end of the day, that's what you want. So that was my view on mechanics, or time cutscenes, should we say, cutscenes spent in hard mode flashpoints. Veteran mode is going to have no extra mechanics. Well, are you surprised? Because that would require effort, and we know that BioWare has no effort. They do not believe in effort. It's going to be more damage output HP. Again, are you surprised at this lazy dev team? So basically, what you're going to do is outgear it. It's not going to be that hard. It's artificial difficulty. Increasing damage output and increasing the mob's HP is not difficulty. Okay? It's not. It's going to take longer. Okay? You're adding time to it. It is going to be a bit more of a DPS check. It is going to be a bit of an HPS check. However, that will be solved with gear. It's not going to be that hard. End of the expansion, you'll walk through it. When you're in sort of 240, whatever... What is it, 246 or whatever the highest tier of gear is. When you're in that, it's not going to matter. Okay, it's not going to do anything. Having mechanics makes fights interesting. Okay, extra mechanics for harder difficulties makes the fight more interesting. It just doesn't mean that you can just get a stat stick and just outstat it. Essentially, you can basically outgear it, is what they've said. That's basically it. Whereas mechanics, you can't really outgear cheese mechanics. Okay, they do say they're going to have some one-shot mechanics in there, but eventually if you're struggling, getting better gear will make you better at it. Because you're going to do more damage, obviously. You're going to have more healing output as well. Your healer gets better gear. It's not really going to be an issue. Your tank's going to have more mitigation, obviously, more damage as well. So the fights are going to be shorter, so there's going to be less healing required. And eventually you get used to mechanics. I think it is lazy to not put extra mechanics in the fight. I think it's just lazy. There's going to be no solo mode. They say you can do it with less than 4 players if you use your companions. That's the other problem I have. The fact that companions are more powerful than players. That's the thing, okay? There's going to be optional command point bonus for being a full group for Uprisings / operations. I'd rather they gave you bonuses for undermanning it. Would be quite interesting. I mean, not using Group Finder, obviously, but if you don't use Group Finder and you say do 16 man with 8 people, you should get a bonus to that. You should get a bonus, because there's no reason now. Before, you did get a bonus. If you did EVHM, 16 man with 8 people, it was perfectly doable. If you had enough geared people. Then you got double loot, was your reward. That was your reward. That was a good incentive to underman things. You know, you brought like 5 people to EVHM, I think we brought one time. You know, you needed 2 healers for the third boss, really. for that. It was always best to have 2 healers for that. But otherwise, you could just get through it. You could get through. You could even 4-man it. I think people were 2-manning it in the end. But yeah, I mean, the biggest benefit to that was more loot. Obviously, you're not going to get that this time. Okay, you're not going to get that. So there's no real point in undermanning it now. No real challenge to it, because obviously when EV was the op of the week, we just switch it to 16-man, go in with 8, double loot. Easy to gear people. We'll get to the gearing in a sec. They've said that this is going to be the best, or the most efficient, what they've said, not the best. I think ops are still the best, but Uprisings are going to be the best efficiency. So I guess time per command XP is going to be the best doing Uprisings, because they only take 15 to 30 minutes, really. What they've said for gearing is you are not going to get set bonus things, set piece bonus, whenever you run an operation. So you don't get a set bonus piece every drop, every time a command crate drops. You'll still get 1 piece of gear. The set bonus is going to be RNG, and this is bullshit. Right, this is going to kill raiding guilds, okay? It's going to be very similar to how the legendaries work in Legion, okay? Legendaries are total bullshit in Legion right now. I mean, you could run content all day, every day since the expansion launched and never get a legendary, okay? And then you can get someone like my paladin, for example, who level 100, just hit level 100, 110 should we say, just hit 110. First world quest we did, I was in High Mountain when I hit 110, and the world boss was up, and it was like the last day before you could do it. So I went and did the world boss, one quest. He was level 110 for less than 20 minutes, and he got a legendary. And yet my priest, who had been level 110 since the first week of the expansion launch, doing emissary quest, mythic dungeons, mythic plus dungeons, Emerald Nightmare, LFR, normal, and heroic, and we finally got a legendary, you know, I think a week before patch 7.1 came out. You know, it was about 6 or 7 weeks after, I think it was, no, in fact 2 months after, 8 weeks after the expansion came out, and you find it's total RNG. This is the same system. You could run ops every single night on your main character. You could run Uprisings, you could run Flashpoints, you could be doing heroics every day, and still not get any set bonus gear. And then somebody who just joins your guild, you know, walks in, does one operation, gets a command XP drop, and gets a set bonus piece. How's that fair? Or someone who just runs heroic content and just does the odd Uprising and tactical flashpoint could be sitting with full 6 pieces. It's worse for PvP as well, because PvP, if you were, you know, a skilled PvPer, you got more comms at the end of each match, because obviously the more medals you won, the more comms you'd get, and the quicker you could gear up if you were good at PvP. This system just fucks you over as a PvPer. It fucks over PvPers, and it fucks over raiders. Because what if you get the situation where you get someone leaves and someone else joins your guild team for raiding, and then what happens is you take them through maybe an older op, you take them through like EV or KP, something like that, and gear them up. You know, take them through and just give them all the set token gear, because usually you didn't need it. Give them all the 220 pieces at least. And that's what we used to do. You can't do that with this system. You cannot do that. I think having the bosses drop set bonus gear, or at least set bonus armorings, would have been a sensible choice. Because then it's up to guilds, and it is a fair system. I mean, most guilds do have a fair loot system. Guilds that don't have fair loot systems tend not to last very long. I find people just leave all the time if they're not getting any loot. But as long as the loot system is fair, I mean, it is a fair loot system. If you're running content for someone, get them geared up. I mean, obviously, everybody who runs that content is aware of that. I mean, I've done that. We've done gearing runs for people. We do gearing runs for alts, where we say, right, we're going to give this person who's new to the guild, they're gearing up, we're going to gear them up. We're going to run EVHM. We're going to, if it's the op of the week, we'll give them all the 220 set tokens, and then the 224s are free for everyone else to roll on. Okay, that would be the kind of loot system that we would run. We just give them all the 220 set stuff. Most of the people in your guild didn't need 220 set stuff anyway, so it was irrelevant. So we do that, and what we do for a few weeks, the first few weeks of the expansion, is you do split runs, you do alt runs, EVHM, whenever it was the op of the week. We did that, I think, about 4 times in the one night. really, because on alts, and we split teams, we did alt runs just to get people gear, and what we do is split the gear evenly. So the idea is everyone would come out with at least, I think, 3 pieces of gear each, something like that. And it was a good way of gearing, because then, of course, the next week you can go and do progression, because EVHM wasn't a progression raid. It never was. So you could go and do that, gear up people. You want to gear people fast with progression, really. That's the whole point of it. Yeah, it slows gearing down. Maybe they want to do that, but it does slow progression down. And when you're progressing on the same fucking bosses week in, week out for the last 2 years, then that kind of hurts, because you just want to gear up fast and get back to progression. You don't want to spend months gearing up. You don't want to do EVHM for months. You know, we don't want to do it for months. We can do it one night, get most people to gear from that, move on to KP, and then go and do Master Blaster, something like that for progression. Do some progression raiding. So I don't know, really. I don't know if this is a great idea, being pure. I mean, I like the idea of getting gear still, but I think that the set gear should be at least a drop that you can get through operations, because you don't need set bonus gear for doing anything else other than ops or PvP. It's the same for PvP, or you're gonna get fucked over. You could win every match at PvP and never get a set bonus gear. You could win 20 matches in a row, and someone who turns up, sits semi-AFK on a base, could get a set piece. It's unfair. It's the same as Legion's legendary system. There you go. We just explained the unfairnesses of that. But yeah, they said they're going to work on something something new for Life Day. Jesus Christ. What are they going to do? Put snow everywhere? I don't know. Something new. Oh my god, it's the only thing new they will have done in a few years if they do that. They also showed some screenshots of the gear. Who cares what the gear looks like, to be honest? Who the hell cares? But yeah, not getting a token for doing operations. At least give everyone a token piece that runs an operation. Would have been a nice thing. If you complete the op, everyone in the group gets a token, maybe, or just have the tokens drop from the boss, and they're just armorings. Why can't they just be armorings? Okay, if you want the complete set of gear, I mean, the gear that they revealed, the looks, who cares? It's like, who the hell cares? Because nobody uses the tier sets anymore for gear. Most people have custom things. You've got your what's it called? The costume thing. You've got that. You've got your costume thing, and you've got your legacy gear, so you tend to just pull all the mods out. Anyway, slap it in legacy gear. Honestly, people are saying that it looks bad, but I don't care, to be honest with you. I don't really give a damn about them. Underworld was like the last decent tier that looked good, I think. Rakata gear looked amazing. I've still got the Bounty Hunter Rakata set on my Merc. So, I mean, that looks good, I guess. But, again, I'm not caring. I don't think it's a big issue. I mean, I don't even know what the 224 set looked like, because honestly, as soon as I got it, I pulled the mods out, I slapped it in the legacy bound gear, and equipped it in the equipment slot, and then I vendored the shell without even looking at it. I never even looked at it, because I've got my costume fine, I've got my gear tab, my costume tab. The gear tab is legacy bound gear, my costume tab has whatever you want in it. And I don't care what the tier sets look like, to be honest. I don't really give a damn. So there you go. That is my view on it. That stuttering mess of a Flashpoint, or Uprisings, whatever they're called. Yeah, I'm not a fan of the technical performance. You think it's something they might have worked on, really, is improving the technical performance, because it's one of those things that does put you off the game. But anyway, that is all for this video. So thank you for joining me. We'll see you again soon, and goodbye.